Let's discuss my favorite things of 2024 so far. First up is a musical group. That musical group is made up of terrible people. It is called Burzum. The music is recorded poorly. It sounds terrible. Intentionally, because isn't that metal? It sounds so bad. I just offended some country. I don't even know what accent that was, but it sounds awful. Terrible people made the music. Do not look them up. Awful, awful people. But if you're in the mood, it is perfect. I have been into metal for decades at this point, and I have known about Burzum that entire time. I've given them shots over the years, and it's never clicked for me. It never worked. I never enjoyed it. I guess I was just never in the mood. But recently, I was going through stuff. I was very angry. I was a bit sad. When I was walking, it was below freezing, so I was cold. Sometimes it was raining, so I was wet. I was cold. I was angry. I was sad. And then I put on Burzum, and I thought, hey, that's me right now. That's exactly how I feel. It is cold. It is distant. It is sharp. It is angry. It is depressing. It is depressed. It is miserable. That's the best way I can describe it. And that may not sound like something you want to listen to. That may not sound like something anybody should listen to. But sometimes you're just in the right mood to hear misery. You want something to commiserate with, or some music to commiserate with you. This did it. This is their album Det som en gang var. Don't know what that means. Probably just said something horrible, but this is the one that kicked it off for me, and I don't own any of their other albums, but I listened to Philipsfem, I think that's what it's called, on Apple Music. Sounds even worse. He intentionally, the guy, Varg, I believe, he intentionally recorded it to sound as bad as possible. Instead of using proper guitar amps, he took a boombox and hooked a guitar directly into that with a distortion pedal, and it sounds like it. And it's fantastic, if you're in the mood for it. So that is the first thing, Burzum. If I didn't describe it, it is very ambient black metal. So it's not really fast, it's not in your face. The guitars are very aggressive, the vocals are very aggressive, but it sounds as though you're listening to metal that was made by a very depressed musician recording in a cave. That's how I would describe it. An ice cave. The Fortress of Solitude. What? Superman reference? I don't think Burzum would like that, but I don't care because the people who made it suck. Okay. Next up, we have 4K UHD player and discs. I have been on 1080p for over a decade at this point. I still have a 1080p TV, but I unintentionally bought a 4K UHD Blu-ray of Day of the Dead, which is the first disc that I pulled out, and I wanted to watch it. This is the Second Sight Film 4K UHD release. It's a UK-based film distributor. And I learned 4K UHD is region-free. There's no region locking on these, and that sold me. That led to me pulling the trigger, and I have had so much fun revisiting some of my favorites, selling the old Blu-ray version and getting the 4K version, and Day of the Dead was the first 4K UHD disc that I bought a year and a half before I even had a player to watch it on. And I love... Did I say Day of the Dead? This is Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, which is still unavailable in the US. I don't think they were supposed to sell this to me. Next up, I have one of the greatest movies ever made, Jaws. This is a perfect summertime movie, and it has what is, in my opinion, one of the greatest scenes in all of cinema, when Quinn is sitting on the boat surrounding the dinner table, telling everybody or telling the two other guys what happened to him when his ship went down during World War II. It is so engaging. It is so terrifying. You just get sucked into that world because it is acted so perfectly. The script is so flawless. You cannot take your eyes off of the screen. You cannot shut off your brain. You are just completely in that moment, wondering what happens next. What is going to happen next? I can't believe this happened. Horrifying. Such an incredibly well done movie. And the last one is a gift I recently got. Thank you very much, by the way. You know who you are. What a generous gift. I am in month 3 of no spend months. So a no spend quarter. I have been eyeing this on eBay for 3.5 months, I think. Just saying, come on, please still be in stock when I am ready to spend money again. And I got this as a gift. So thank you so much. This is a hilarious, very violent movie. I know it probably wasn't intended to be a comedy, but the violence is so over the top that I found myself laughing out loud multiple times. When Ed 209 unleashes on the boardroom, I laughed out loud, which I shouldn't have because it is a horrifying amount of gore, but it's so over the top that it starts to get to the point of being comedic. Another point that should not make me laugh is when Murph gets taken out. It's a bummer. Murph is our protagonist and he gets taken out by a bunch of guns. I laughed out loud. He gets shot in the arm with a shotgun and his arm falls off. It's almost like Monty Python. It is absolutely hilarious. But all around, it is a great science fiction action movie, I suppose you could call it. It is just well done and fun to watch. I'm going to watch this for decades to come, and it looks great on 4K UHD. Last thing, my favorites of the year are reading things, because I'm a reading man. I'm still doing it. Can you believe that? I still, almost every morning, if I wake up on time, will read. And number 1 is a book, a good old physical book. It's called Dune. The author is Frank Herbert. Have you heard of it? I know it's very obscure. Not many people have heard of it. It's not as though there have been multiple films made on the source material. But I finally got around to reading it. I now understand why it's regarded as one of the greatest science fiction books of all time. Because it is one of the greatest science fiction books of all time. It has political intrigue. It has betrayal. It has kind of sex, but not much sex. It has war. It has religion. It has everything that you want. And once I finished this, I noticed how influential this has been. A lot of stories seem to borrow stuff from Dune. I'm looking at you, George Lucas. Lots of it. But well worth a read if you have not read it. I've never seen any of the movies. Maybe I will get around to doing that. I was told, whatever you do, do not watch the, David Lynch 1980s version of Dune because it's terrible. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if the person who told me that has a wrong opinion or not. Let me know. Should I watch the 1980s Dune by David Lynch, or should I just not watch any of them and just read the book again? Kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger. Not really, but kind of. I need to know what happens next, but I don't have the follow-up books yet, so I'm gonna have to get around to that. And then we have a piece of technology. It's amazing that on this outer space planetoid thing that I'm on, watching the solar eclipse, that I have all my stuff with me. Very bizarre. A piece of tech, a piece of old tech. I had to look up in my Amazon cart when I bought this. This is the Amazon Kindle Paperwhite Generation 6. I bought this in 2015, and it is still functioning perfectly. The battery life is still weeks long. It only has 4 gigabytes of storage. You may be thinking, 4 gigabytes as I probably popped the microphone. That's stupid. How could anybody get by with 4 gigabytes? The size of these ebooks is teeny tiny. 4 gigabytes is more than enough. The reason I enjoy this is because when I'm holding up a big chunky paperback book, yes, it does smell good. But once you add the the book light and you're holding it open for hours at a time, your hand gets a bit tired. With the Kindle, I don't have to worry about the book light because it has a backlight. It's a bright enough screen. It doesn't strain your eyes. You can read everything. I have read a Resident Evil novel on it. In a prior episode, I said that S.E. Hinton wrote the Resident Evil books. That's the guy who wrote The Outsiders, not Resident Evil. The guy who wrote Resident Evil was S.D. Perry? Perry Ellis? I don't know. Moral of the story, it wasn't S.E. Hinton. That would be quite a transition from writing The Outsiders to, as I actually hit the microphone there, from writing The Outsiders to writing a novelization of the first Resident Evil game. I would like to see that. I would like to hear that. I want to hear what would happen if some classic literature author went from something like To Kill a Mockingbird to Silent Hill, Resident Evil, 28 Days Later, something like that. That would be wild. Those are my favorite things of 2024 so far. Also, Watches and Wonders just happened. I gotta say, I am a Tudor fanboy. That is my favorite watch brand, and I will throw up on screen behind me. Look at these watches. They did a Black Bay 58 GMT finally. We've been asking years for it. They knocked off 2 millimeters in height. It is beautiful. I'm not sure on the color though. I think they went a bit too hot on the Fauxtina. Maybe not Fauxtina, but tan. Not a big fan of that. But then you got the Black Bay 41. I know nobody is caring about this but me. I wasn't even planning on talking about it, but why not? The Black Bay 41. This is the one that I love the most. I'm going to go on a bit of a diatribe here. I know people say, look at it. It's as close to a Submariner as you can get. Why don't you just buy a Submariner? If you buy this, you just want a Submariner. You can't afford it. Wrong. What I love about this is it's like a Submariner from 1990. I want a 1990 Submariner. I will never buy one. I'm never going to spend that much money on a watch. But this is like the Submariner with the aluminum bezel insert, with the monochrome color scheme, but with modern quality, modern build. It's like getting a 90s Submariner in 2024 built really well, and it doesn't cost you $15,000. Incredible. Not going to buy that one either. I don't have the money for any of this stuff anymore. Okay.